Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about section 12.2, which is on complementary and supplementary angles. Our EQ for the day is how can you classify two angles as complementary or supplementary? Two angles that are complementary angles are complementary when the sum of their measures is 90 degrees. For example, if I add 30 and 60 degrees together, I find that they have a sum of 90 degrees, making these two angles complementary. Similarly, if I look at angles 1 and 2, they make together this 90-degree angle. Therefore, they have a sum of 90 and are complementary. So angles 1 and 2 are also complementary angles. Two angles are supplementary angles when they have a sum of 180 degrees. Looking down at our examples, if I add 135 with 45, I find that those two angles have a sum of 180 degrees, making them supplementary angles. In the second example to the right, I have two angles, angle 3 and 4. Together, they make a straight line. Since straight lines have a measure of 180 degrees, angles 3 and 4 are supplementary angles. In example 1, we're going to tell whether the angles are complementary, supplementary, or neither. So we're interested to see if they add up to either 90, 180, or maybe neither of those two. In example A, when I add 70 and 110, I find that these two angles have a sum of 180 degrees, making them supplementary angles. Similarly, in letter B, when I add 41 with 49, I find that these two angles have a sum of 90 degrees. Therefore, these two angles are complementary angles. So angles 41 and 49, those degrees together form a right angle. Lastly, in letter C, I've got 128 and 62. When I add those two angles together, I find that I get a sum of 190. Since this adds up to neither 180 nor 90 degrees, they are neither complementary nor are they supplementary angles. Go ahead and take a moment to pause the video and try examples 1, 2, and 3 on your own. Finding the sum of these three, I find that the first has a sum of 90, so the angles are complementary. The second has a sum of 180, so they are supplementary. And the third has a sum of 89, making them neither complementary nor supplementary. In example 2, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to decide whether the angles are complementary or supplementary, and then we're going to use that information to help us find the value of x. In letter A, I see this right angle notation, meaning that 40x and 36 are complementary angles. Because of that, I know that 4x and 36 have a sum of 90 degrees. So I can write an equation, 4x plus 36 must equal 90 degrees, and this is something that I can solve. Using properties of equality, I subtract 36 from both sides. I now have 4x equaling to 54, dividing by 4 on both sides. X is going to equal 54 over 4, which can reduce to 27 over 2. And since we're talking about an x value or angles, you may leave it as an improper fraction, or you might prefer to rewrite it as a decimal. Writing as a decimal, we would have an x value of 13.5. And again, this is not degrees, it is simply an x value. When we plug that 13.5 in for x, we then find the measure of the 4x degrees angle. In example B, these two angles together make a straight line. Because of that, I know that when I add them, they're going to have a sum of 180 degrees. So I can use that to write an equation. X plus x minus 4 is going to equal 180 degrees. Combining like terms, I've got 2x minus 4 is equal to 180. Adding 4 to both sides, I have 2x is equal to 184. Dividing by 2, I find that x is equal to 92. Go ahead and take a moment to pause the video and try the next two on your own. In number 4, the angles are supplementary, which means that 4x plus 5 plus 41 is going to be 180 degrees. Solving for x, I found that x is either equal to 67 over 2 as a fraction or 33.5 as a decimal. In number 5, the angles are complementary, meaning that x plus 2x minus 3 is going to equal 90. Solving for x, I find that x will equal 31. The last thing we are going to do is practice drawing adjacent supplementary angles so that one of them has a measure of 60 degrees. There are 2 steps here. The first is to use a protractor to draw a 60-degree angle. In order to draw a 60-degree angle, we're going to begin by just drawing a straight line using the edge of the protractor along the bottom of the page. There's my straight line. Now from there, I'm going to line up the protractor and construct a 60-degree angle. With my protractor lined up, I have the center here at 0. All the way to the right, I'm going to find the 0 degrees and follow it up to 60. Here is my 60, so I'll go ahead and put a dot outside of 60. Moving the protractor now, I can turn it to line it up with the dot I just formed. Using the edge of the protractor as a straight edge or as a ruler, I can then draw the line to create my 60-degree angle. This angle now has a measure of 60 degrees. Now to create a pair of supplementary angles, all I need is the other angle to make a straight line with the angle I've just formed. So I'm now going to use my straight edge to extend the original line that I had started with. So instead of just having the black line to the right, I'm now going to extend that black line to the left as well. Meaning that the 2 angles I have formed now create a pair of angles that adds up to 180 degrees. Because they form a straight line, all together this angle is 180, meaning that this missing piece here has to be 120 degrees. And that concludes our lesson on section 12.2 on complementary and supplementary angles.